Look at your bank account for a second. Not just the number, but how it makes you feel. Because that number isn't neutral. It carries weight, stress, guilt, maybe even quiet fear. For some people, it's a few $100s on a good month. For others, it's barely enough to make it to the next paycheck. And that first $1,000 doesn't feel like a financial milestone. It feels like a wall that no matter how hard you work, you just can't seem to climb. And here's the part nobody tells you. If saving your first $1,000 feels impossible, it's not because you're bad with money. It's because you're fighting your own brain and nobody ever taught you how to win that fight. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why that first $1,000 feels harder than the next $10,000. What's happening inside your brain every time you try to save, and how to flip the switch. So saving stops feeling painful and starts feeling powerful. Look at your bank account again. That number staring back at you doesn't just represent money. It represents effort, stress, sacrifice, and maybe frustration. For some people, it's a few $100s on a good month. For others, it's barely enough to survive. And that first $1,000 feels less like progress and more like a cruel joke, like trying to climb a mountain with no shoes and no map. Meanwhile, you've probably heard someone online confidently say that once you reach $10,000, the next $10,000 comes much faster. And if you're struggling right now, that sounds ridiculous, almost insulting. Because when every bill feels heavy and every dollar already has a J, OB saving anything feels impossible. But here's the uncomfortable truth most people don't want to hear. That statement isn't a lie. If anything, it understates how dramatically things change once you cross that first threshold. The reason your first $1,000 is so difficult has almost nothing to do with math, income, or discipline alone. It's rooted in psychology, neuroscience, and human evolution. And until you understand those forces, saving money will always feel like pushing against an invisible wall. Most people assume wealthy individuals are simply better with money, that they were born knowing how to save, invest, and delay gratification, that they have some internal switch others are missing. But that story is comforting because it lets everyone else off the hook. The reality is far less comforting and far more empowering. Your brain is not designed to make you wealthy. It is designed to keep you alive. From a neurological standpoint, humans are wired to prioritize immediate rewards over future benefits. This is known as temporal discounting. Your brain places far more value on what you can enjoy right now than on something abstract and delayed. Spending $50 tonight feels real. Saving $50 for a future version of yourself feels distant, vague, and emotionally empty. That's why saving feels like deprivation at the beginning. Your brain experiences it as loss. Every dollar you don't spend triggers discomfort, sometimes anxiety, because evolution trained us to grab available resources while we could. For thousands of years, waiting wasn't rewarded. Immediate consumption was survival. So when modern financial advice tells you to just save more, it ignores the fact that you're fighting millions of years of biological programming. You're not weak, you're human. This is why the first $1,000 feels so brutal. You're not just changing habits, you're challenging your identity. You're asking your brain to behave in a way it never evolved to support. Another psychological trap working against you is mental accounting. Your brain categorizes money based on where it came from. Income from your job feels serious and protected. Unexpected money like a bonus, a tax refund, or a gift feels lighter, less important, easier to spend. That distinction is irrational but deeply ingrained. As a result, many people earn decent money yet never build wealth, not because they lack income, but because their brain quietly assigns different rules to different dollars. Every exception weakens consistency, and consistency is the foundation of wealth. Then there are money scripts, subconscious beliefs formed in childhood that shape your financial behavior without your awareness. Maybe money was a source of conflict growing up. Maybe it was scarce. stressful, or never discussed at all. Over time, those experiences create internal rules that money causes problems. Wealth isn't for people like me. Wanting more is selfish. These beliefs don't announce themselves. They operate silently, steering decisions behind the scenes, and unless they're confronted, they sabotage progress. No matter how much financial knowledge you acquire, this is why willpower alone fails. Because willpower can't override identity for long. But here's where things begin to shift. Once you reach certain psychological thresholds, your brain's relationship with saving changes. The same mechanisms that once worked against you start working for you. Saving stops feeling like loss and starts feeling like proof. Psychologists call this self-efficacy. Your belief in your ability to succeed at a specific task. When you have no savings, the idea of having $10,000 feels unreal. Your brain can't visualize it, so it doesn't commit. But once you save your first $1,000, something powerful happens. Your brain updates its story. You are no longer someone who can't save. You are someone who already has. That shift is measurable. People who successfully save their first $1,000 are dramatically more likely to continue saving. Not because their circumstances changed, but because their identity did. Now the math begins to matter. At the start, every dollar saved comes entirely from behavior. You must earn, resist spending, and stay consistent. That's exhausting. But once money is invested, growth begins to assist you. Even modest returns create momentum. Saving $100 per month might feel unrealistic at first, but at that pace, you reach $1,000 in 10 months, 10 long months of restraint, doubt, and delayed gratification. It feels slow because progress is invisible. But once that money is invested and earning a conservative return, something changes. The second $1,000 arrives slightly faster, then the third faster still. Each milestone shortens the distance to the next. Eventually, your money starts doing part of the woe. RK for you. At $10,000 invested, returns begin to feel tangible. You're earning money without effort, while you sleep, while you work, while you live your life, and that realization rewires motivation. Saving becomes rewarding, growth becomes addictive. At higher balances, the effect compounds dramatically. With enough capital, your investments can generate more than your monthly contributions. At that point, wealth no longer feels fragile, it feels inevitable. This is where behavior transforms completely. People stop seeing spending as reward and start seeing it as opportunity cost. A dinner out isn't just a meal, it's lost growth. A purchase isn't harmless, it's delayed freedom. This is why wealthy individuals often appear obsessed with optimization, not because they love money, but because have experienced what leverage feels like. They understand that small decisions scale over time, and this mindset spills into everything. Time becomes valuable, effort becomes intentional, long-term thinking replaces short-term relief. Meanwhile, many people remain stuck, repeating the same habits year after year, spending small amounts daily, financing depreciating assets, living paycheck to paycheck despite rising income. Not because they're irresponsible, but because their psychology never crossed that first threshold. Most spending isn't about money anyway. It's about emotion, comfort, escape, relief, dopamine, and you can't solve emotional spending with spreadsheets. This is why the first $1,000 is the hardest. It demands emotional rewiring. It forces you to replace instant gratification with delayed satisfaction. It requires building new reward systems that don't rely on consumption. Now let me step out of theory for a moment and speak to you as a financial advisor. If you are struggling to save your first $1,000, your job is not to optimize investments or chase returns yet. Your only job is to win one psychological battle, proving to your brain that saving money is something you actually do. Stop trying to save a lot. Start trying to save automatically. Even $25 or $50 a week matters not because of the amount, but because it removes decision making. The moment saving depends on willpower you lose, automation turns saving from a moral test into a background habit. Separate your first $1,000 as safety money, not investment money. Its job is not to make you rich. Its job is to calm your nervous system. Once your brain knows one unexpected expense won't destroy you, everything else becomes easier. And track identity progress, not just dollars. Every month you save, even imperfectly reinforce this sentence: I am someone who builds financial stability. That identity shift is worth more than any spreadsheet. Once that shift happens, everything accelerates. Saving stops feeling like sacrifice. It feels like winning. From that point forward, the math and the mind work together. Compound interest builds wealth. Compound psychology builds consistency. Your first $1,000 isn't just a financial milestone, it's a psychological breakthrough. And once you reach it, the game changes permanently. The question isn't whether this works. The evidence is overwhelming. The only question is whether you're willing to endure the short, uncomfortable phase that separates struggle from momentum. If this video made you see your money differently, don't let that awareness fade. Subscribe not for motivation, but for reinforcement, and take one small action today. Open your banking app and set up an automatic transfer, even a tiny one. Not to be perfect, just to begin. Your future self doesn't need you to be brilliant. They just need you to be consistent starting now.